Back on our breaking news here, multiple sources say U.S. intelligence analysts have assessed that North Korea has achieved a miniaturized nuclear warhead. So, Sarah Murray, let me just bring you back in over in New Jersey, covering the president there. We were just talking about this, scrum or Q&A with the president as he was addressing the opioid crisis in the country, and apparently he made news because he did react to this North Korea report. What did he say?
That's right. As we expected, he was asked about this, and the president issued a very stern warning to North Korea. Until we get the video, I'm going to just read you what the president just said. He said, North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. They will be met with fire, fury, and frankly, power, the likes of which the world has never seen. Now, we know some of the other president's top advisors said all options are on the table when it comes to dealing with North Korea. They've made clear that that includes the military option. Obviously, we'll be waiting to see if they offer any more details on how they plan to deal with this as the day proceeds, Brooke.
Okay, Sarah, thank you very much. I've got Sabrina Siddiqui here with me, politics reporter for The Guardian, CNN political commentator Andre Bauer, a Republican, used to serve as lieutenant governor in South Carolina, and CNN chief political analyst Gloria Warger. Gloria, when you hear the words out of Trump's mouth, fire, fury, and frankly the power of the likes the world has never seen, and talking to, of all people, Kim Jong-un, what do you make of that language?
Well, the language is very strong. I think the saber rattling goes on both sides in this case, and I think the president is sending a very direct message. The problem this president has right now is, and we've been talking about this because of our polling, is his credibility on all issues, including foreign policy. 6 out of 10 people don't think he's done a very good job when it comes
Gloria,
to
let
foreign
me cut you
policy.
off. Here's the president. Let's listen in for the precise words he used.
They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. He has been very threatening beyond a normal statement. And as I said, they will be met with fire, fury, and frankly power, the likes of which this world has never seen before. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Over here. All right, so that's exactly what Sarah Murray just reported out. Gloria, you were mid-thought. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, look, you saw the president. I mean, he was very somber. He was very determined, clearly angry. They've threatened us. Now that we threaten them back. And, the question is, does this ratchet up, or do we find a way to calm everyone down to avoid something that could that could result in the use of force at this point. And I think the president, there is an issue here for the American public. Forgetting the North Korea issue, which we can't, there is an issue because 2/3 of the people out there don't seem to trust what the president says. And 6 out of 10 don't give him high marks on handling foreign policy. And so the bar is going to be pretty high for people. They know that Kim Jong-un is crazy. They understand that, but they may want to see a more measured response before we take it up to another level here. And I think the president's threat was kind of a tit for tat, and we'll have to see what happens next.
No, I think on that, and Sabrina, just asking you, yes, tit for tat, and normally it's the rhetoric coming out of Pyongyang that's the over-the-top kind of, fiery words. It seems to me that the president is matching instead of lowering the temperature.
One of the key concerns that was actually raised by candidate Trump's opponents and also Republicans, if you recall, in the national security community, was whether or not he would be prepared to lead in a time of crisis. And they were exactly concerned about his erratic behavior, his propensity to tweet. And I think that, it does contrast what you've heard from those on the foreign policy side of this administration, Nikki Haley, Rex Tillerson, even CIA Director Mike Pompeo, all expressing a desire to de-escalate this conflict and pursue some kind of diplomatic resolution with Pyongyang. I think the biggest question will be whether or not the president is willing to listen to the counsel of those around him, or, as he faces this first real test of his leadership, is he going to go in a more aggressive position.
Just makes you wonder how Rex Tillerson, who's been overseas and has been hoping for, open dialogue with, the foreign minister of North Korea, how this helps or hurts him when the president of the United States says something like this. You mentioned Nikki Haley, and so let me just toss us some sound, Andre, and we'll talk on the other side here. The UN ambassador, Nikki Haley, she was on Fox News this morning. She was asked about this unsubstantiated report, a report citing, sources, outing classified information, and so they asked her about it, and this was her response.
I can't talk about anything that's classified, and if that's in the newspaper, that's a shame. It's incredibly dangerous when things get out into the press like that. You're not only just getting a scoop on something, you're playing with people's lives.
Yes.
So she doesn't comment on it, Andre, but then the president of the United States, I don't know if he has on his Twitter retweets does not equal endorsements, but the president retweeted that very unsubstantiated, just only according to sources report, which is total hypocrisy.
Well, maybe the president wanted to get a message to North Korea.
Hang on, let me just get you to agree with me on that, because he is talking out of both sides of his mouth.
Well, no, maybe there's a message, an underlying message he wants either the American people to know or North Korea to know. The Constitution clearly allows him to do this based on a ruling back in 1988, a majority vote. And so he may have knowledge that he wants to get out there. He may be sending them a message that we don't even directly know about. And so this is within his purview, being the President of the United States, to do that under Article 2 of the Constitution.
How is that not totally hypocritical, Sabrina?
Well, it certainly is hypocritical.
I mean, think about what Jeff Sessions was saying on Friday about leakers.
Think about how this White House has aggressively gone after leaks, but that only happens to be leaks that they deem inconvenient for the administration and the narrative around the Trump White House. I will tell you, this is the kind of behavior that leaves Americans concerned about how the president will respond in a time of crisis. There was actually a recent poll by CBS. 61% do not believe, or I should say uneasy about how Trump will approach a conflict with North Korea. So I think, again, it remains a question as to whether or not the people around him can rein him in a time like this.
Well, you look at our own CNN poll, Gloria. Go ahead, Andre. Let me hear you.
I was going to say he may not need reining in for a year now, better than a year. I've watched commentators talk about Donald Trump during a primary, during a general, about his missteps. And sometimes his missteps were the very steps that got him where he wanted to be. This may not be a misstep at all. In fact, it may be very shrewd like a fox. He may be sending a message that, in fact, may curtail some type of behavior. We're not going to know every move the president makes.
Listen,
but
maybe
Donald
you're right.
Trump
But let me just point out, Andre,
I
I got to jump in because he has been obsessed with leaks and stopping the leaks. And in this case, by retweeting this Fox News story, he endorsed a leak of classified information full of anonymous sources. These are all of the things he calls out every day.
The president has the purview at any point in time to declassify anything without any oversight whatsoever.
But I understand, but do you hear what I'm saying? This is a man who says no to leaks, calls a bunch of people, fake news, don't believe it, anonymous sources, it's BS, but yet he's retweeting a Fox News article which is full of this stuff.
I do understand. I respect your viewpoint, but again, I would say that Donald Trump a lot of times has taken a tidbit of information and used it to send a specific message to an individual, and he may be doing everything he can in conflict resolution to try to stop this from escalating at a different. He may be sending a clear message that we don't even know about, and I suspect that is what he is doing. That is why he has declassified this information, let the American people know, and the North Koreans know as well.
Okay, I think it's a common sense viewpoint, but I respect you, Andre. I appreciate you being on with me and voicing your own. But let's talk about credibility. Gloria, to you, we keep talking about this number, 75%, right? This is the new CNN poll. 75% of Americans don't believe a word coming out of the White House. Well, let's take it a step further because his support among some of his core, fiercest Trump supporters, that's also down. Non-educated whites and Republicans who strongly approve of Trump are both down since February. So they're having issues with his own credibility.
Yeah, I think they are. When you hear about phone calls the president says happened, whether it's with a leader in Mexico or the Boy Scouts, and it turns out that the phone calls never happened, you can't really blame it on the media all the time. Also, I would say that a lot of his supporters are not seeing the results that they want. And while he is popular among Republicans and he still has approval with his base of support, we do see it eroding. And and we see his leadership numbers eroding. That is why, when to bring this back to North Korea, we are clearly at an inflection point here, one way or another. And people look to a president in times like these to tell them the truth and to make sober, level-headed decisions about what the next steps are. He has a great team around him, people believe, and so you have to believe they're going to do the right thing. But he is also the spokesman for his administration on these kinds of issues directly to the American public. And this is where a credibility gap, which is now a chasm, comes in, because at this time, people need to believe their president.
Right. Right. People are looking to the president on that.
Yeah.
People are also looking to the president, Sabrina, on something that I know you feel very passionately about. So I just didn't want to let you go without asking about this, mosque incident over the weekend in Minnesota. This bombing, the governor is calling it an act of terrorism. CNN has reported that since the start of 2016, on average, 9 mosques have been targeted every month. But in this case, over the weekend in Minnesota, there's been nothing from the president, no tweet, no comment, and that angers you.
Well, I think that what you hear from members of the Muslim community is frustration that they have not heard anything out of the White House with respect to this bombing or other hate crimes that have been on the rise over the last few years, not just against Muslims, but also other people of color. This mirrors the response by the administration to the threats that were made against the Jewish community centers. It took a very long time for the president to go out and condemn those threats. He also, when there was a shooting of the Indian man in Kansas who lost his life, it took them a long time to address that incident as well. And so when it comes to these minorities who feel like they have been made targets, due in part to the rhetoric that was embraced by the president and his affiliation with the so-called alt-right, it seems like there's still this hesitation, perhaps deliberate, only the White House can answer that, in terms of actually going out of his way to condemn and disavow those actions.
Sabrina Siddiqui, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Gloria Borger, thank you. And Andre Bauer, thank you as well.
Sure.
Coming up next, more on this heated rhetoric from the president. North Korea will be met with fire and fury if it threatens the U.S. again. That's from the president just moments ago. We'll be right back.